I think the main issue with myeloma are still several. One is the late presentation of the disease in some patient because the condition may not be recognized by a general practitioner or primary care physician. Number two is when they are diagnosed, the treatment is very long because for most myeloma patients now, the survival is very good and we have many good treatment available. But a result of that is that the patients have to remain on treatment for very, very long time. So compliance and ability of patients to continue to pay for treatment for such a long period is a challenge. Number three is really access to treatment, precisely because of the availability of good treatment, but many of these treatment are very expensive. Um, and hence it is a tremendous financial burden for patient. And some of the newer treatment may not always be immediately available upon FDA approval, and we may, take a number of years before these treatment become available in Singapore. So, the access to the better and newer treatment remain a challenging issue as well. I think for the three issues that I've mentioned, we do have a number of different strategies. So for the recognition of the disease, we have been very active in raising awareness for myeloma. The medical community or the expert group have actually been providing physicians training to our primary care, to our general medicine, internal medicine, surgical colleagues, so that they recognize, a potential diagnosis of myeloma in patients presenting with, say, bone problem, bone fracture, with renal impairment, with anemia to the primary care, so that they will, either refer or do the additional test that will allow us to see whether they have potential myeloma or not. So that's one effort that's been going on. In terms of the cost of treatment, really this has been very difficult because obviously treatment cost is determined by companies. We have been active in working with companies to come up with a patient assistance program. We have also in Singapore a number of charitable organizations that will help to pay for treatment in patients who cannot afford. And of course, the government also have a financial assistance scheme for patients who require approved treatment but cannot afford. The additional thing is really through research, we are looking at what we call low-cost combination. So using one effective novel agents, but combined with other older drugs that are cheaper, so that as a whole, the regimen is affordable for patients. So we have been doing this in Asia through the Asia Myeloma Network. A number of trials have already been published and some have been reported in international conference, showing that sometimes these low-cost combinations may be as effective, of course, not in a comparative randomized fashion, but at least the response rate looked to be pretty good or close to some of the more expensive combinations that have been reported by other groups, right? So this is another way to kind of reduce the cost burden for our patients and still maintain good response rate and outcome. And then the last one about some of the access to some of the newer cutting edge treatment. That again is a challenging area, but we are working closely with industry as well as with the FDA so that we can get early regulatory approval in Singapore following FDA approval. So we match our regulator here, match very closely the FDA standards, and we are partners so that when something is approved by FDA, we'll get rapid approval in Singapore. And then the company actually will have the ability to then register the drug and have it available for patients earlier. So we are working closely with regulators and companies to ensure that Singapore get drug approval soon after the US and at least have the drug available, for patients who can afford them because, they may take a longer period of time before they get any sort of subsidy or reimbursement from the government. Yeah, so I think again, this is potentially challenging because I think all the different countries in the region have different drug access issue, different ways that health is funded by the government. So I think there is huge heterogeneity in access to drugs and what is available for them to prescribe and so on. But I think the general principle here is that they should use the best treatment available in their country and also based upon results that has been published. So this must be effective and well validated regimen. And then they should use it upfront or as early as possible. And just do the simple things well, meaning to say that manage the toxicity well, make sure patients remain on treatment for as long as possible and they don't stop treatment too fast, manage the complications like infections and so on well, use appropriate prophylaxis to prevent these infections, ensure patients are all well vaccinated against common viruses and so on, so that they don't, have so much infective complications during treatment, ensure that patients get maintenance therapy and so on. So the best standard that they can have based on international guidelines they should deliver, and then they should make sure that all the other aspects about managing the patient, like prevention of infection, management of bone issues, and so on, vitamin D and calcium replacement. All these things are done well to maximize the potential of a longer term survival of patients in their own country based on the limitations of what they have. So that's the basic. And number two is actually, if they can, try to get involved in clinical trials, network, and so on. So build some ability for them to do trials because we actually view the ability to participate in clinical trials as a way to get early access to treatment for patients with myeloma. Because, as I said, it takes a while after approval before they can, the drug is available in the country, and even longer before they are potentially subsidized or affordable. But a trial would be a way to get the treatment early and free of charge because most of the time on the trial, the drug is provided for free. So I think the other advice would be, try to build up the capability to do trials as a way to get access to drug. So unfortunately, at the moment, CAR-T for myeloma is not yet available, despite the fact that we have two products that is already approved by FDA. But this is, I think, in general, an issue in Asia. These companies with the approved product have decided that they will only make CAR-T available for myeloma in Japan and not in any other part of Asia yet, right? And Australia, I think, will have it available, but in terms of Asia, it's only Japan first. And I think this is partly related to the manufacturing capacity that may be a limitation. So they want to deliver the product to their biggest market first. So we have no access. Our only access is through clinical trials, but clinical trials usually have limited number of slots and maybe limited duration for recruitment as well. So we currently actually don't have an open trial or available slots. For lymphoma, I think it is available. It is commercial product is available. We have a very active research program on CAR-T, but unfortunately, currently that the research program doesn't have a trial for myeloma at the moment, but we're always looking at new opportunities. So currently no accessibility, but we hope either the company will bring the approved product or we will have a trial with CAR-T opening up soon. I think in terms of myeloma, we're very active in research, both lab-based research as well as clinical research. I think the exciting thing that I want to sort of quickly mention is, as I said earlier, we have this collaborative trial platform called Asian Myeloma Network, for which Singapore is a strong driver. And till date, we have already completed 5 trials. Two of them has been published in manuscript in good journals using these low-cost combination. One of our latest trial, which is a randomized study of pomalidomide, cyclophosphamide, and dexamethasone versus pomalidomide and dexamethasone, was an oral presentation at ASH in December, and we're now preparing the manuscript for publication. And that trial show in a randomized phase 3 fashion in a large Asian population that PCD is better than PD. And so that data has been used by some of our centers in Taiwan, for example, for their local regulatory approval. So these are exciting clinical research program that many of the Asian countries are part of, and has led to impactful outcomes, such as approval of drugs in certain countries, and also obviously the use of these to benefit patients on the trial. And in the lab side, we are focused on high-risk myeloma, and we have interesting recent data on new findings related to 414 myeloma, and what are some of the downstream pathways that are regulated by the different isoforms that were overexpressed of NSD2 in 414 myeloma. And so I think that hopefully will shed new insights into some of these high-risk disease, and potentially how we can better target them.